Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ted Talks Ball. Got Ryan from No Border Sports in the house. You may know him on Twitter at Border Sports. Excellent guy, super helpful to all of us in the YouTube world, and super great guest. And I think next time I'll have to be a guest on his show. But I appreciate you coming on here with me today. And Ryan, tell everybody anything I may have missed about you. Anything that you've got going on coming up. I think you might have mentioned you have a 6 p.m. show tonight that you might want to promote. Let us have it.
Yes. I just don't know whose channel it's on. So it's either on Mariah's channel, Niner Sickness's channel, or it's on 49er Minus' channel. Or, sorry, Mariah's 49er Faithfully.
And if I recall correctly, it's called 49ers and Friends.
No, it's the Bring the Heat podcast.
Damn. All right.
It changed. No, you were right. Oh, you were right. Okay. But
it's not up to date.
After last week, that changed. So
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I don't feel so bad then.
And then I got my Friday night show, which is we start at 6:00. We go till about 11. It's a 5-hour, maybe sometimes longer. But yeah, check us out. We talk about the NFL in general. Also, it's kind of like a hangout. So you know what I mean? Come in the chat, ask some questions. You can also, if you're cool enough and we know you, you can jump on the panel. We could shoot the stuff. So, yeah, hit me up.
Very cool. Yeah, I've checked it out a few times. Awesome folks. Marathon shows, getting into everything, starting out in NFL, but dipping your toes into all kinds of different things, which is
we
cool.
even talked on aliens not too long ago, and it just get into people's thoughts, and we it's like a train derailment. It's actually kind of fun.
Everyone stops to take a look.
Yes.
Nice. Well, Ryan, obviously, Niner news going on. Title I picked for this show was Purdy continues to make progress, taking next steps in recovery. I was heartened to see that, Tom Pelissero was reporting that he's going to see a specialist and the things, we'd heard that he was on track already. Just hearing more of that. It was interesting that the name that they threw out was somebody that I didn't recall. It wasn't the same name as his surgeon who performed the UCL repair plus internal brace surgery back on March 10th. It's a gentleman by the name of Tom Gormley, Gormely. And he's meeting with his QB coach, Will Hewlett, and promising stuff. I was excited to hear that. Some people think that because I like Lance that I somehow hate Brock Purdy,
right?
But nothing could be further from the truth. I'm a big Purdy fan.
How can you be mad at the kid?
No,
what has he done wrong? You know what I mean?
Like, what is he?
Yeah,
he's a great story, and I just want as many healthy and prepared QBs as possible to start the season, to end the season, to go into the playoffs. Hopefully, to take us to the Super Bowl and win it to get number 6. So,
got to give a shout out to Jess from the East Coast Red and Gold podcast. What up, Jess?
Yeah, we got Kyle Young. What it do, faithful? And Bebop Jones, Rye Guy, and Ted.
Bebop?
What up? Yeah, no BS plus Ted.
If you tune in on Friday nights, my channel, you'll meet Bebop in the chat, and you'll see Bebop there.
There you go.
We got Bryant Culp here too. He's actually on the show.
Nice. Saying hi to Jess. Jess is giving him some pineapples. Yeah, for Kittle's revealing video. Outstanding stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that Brock Purdy's doing well. It's just interesting to hear people say that, because he's on track with the timeline, that he'll for sure start week 1. Interesting to hear national media say Trey Lance has the edge over Lance.
If he's on track to start week 1, that means the 49ers are going to start him with only 2 weeks of like real practice, maybe 2.5 weeks, something like that. Does that make
Well,
sense to you?
yeah, I mean, if we're going strictly off the timeline, here's the thing. There's so little data on these surgeries. Only one other QB has ever had the surgery. That's Nick Mullins, coincidentally, another
Who's a
49er
tight end
QB.
you right now with Trey Lance?
Yes, and Sam Darnold and Josh Allen are all there. And in fact, Nick Mullins was interviewed during, by Jennifer Lee Chan during Tight End University, and he basically said it's basically more mental than physical. Like you get ready physically, and then it's like getting ready mentally to play. And there's sort of three hurdles mentally. Like first one is, can you rip the ball? Can you throw it full velocity like you used to? And the second one, and not that Purdy could ever really rip the ball anyway, let's be honest. The
Right,
second one
but
is,
to their
can you,
standard.
can you to your standard, exactly, to your requisite arm strength, as Larry
Right.
Krueger likes to say. Second is, can you get synced up with your weapons, which you were alluding to? Can you do that in 2 weeks? And third,
That's
probably the biggest, is can you stand in the pocket and get ready to hit on that arm and still deliver under pressure and wait for your guys to break open, knowing that you're going to get clobbered shortly thereafter.
remember
So,
Jimmy G being scared to lock his front leg or
yeah,
step up in the pocket, step up the pocket and
absolutely.
lock his leg. He was scared to do that because of his injuries. So there's things. And to me, I would rather make sure that Brock is firing on all cylinders before you put him out there in a game situation. So there is no mental stuff. You know what I mean? He gets past all the big mental stuff in practice, getting ready, and then in the game, he's already ready. He doesn't have to worry about that. He has to worry about the plays. He could just, if he's thinking about everything else, he's going to play slower. He's going to make mistakes by hesitating. You know what I mean? Like some of those passes could have been picked off last year. And if he's hesitating anymore, those could be totally interceptions. You know what I mean? Because a lot of those passes took those defensive players by surprise. And that's probably why they weren't able to grab them, because it was like they turned around and it was right in their hands. So to me, I think it's really imperative that, for his own development, that you make sure that he is 100%, getting past, like you're saying, the mental hurdles. He has to be the same Brock. You put him back out on the field, because
Absolutely.
it's when you come back from an injury like this is not like he went off in the off season and he came back rusty. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, you could just throw him in there and just let him work it out, because he needs reps, right? So obviously game time reps give you better experience. You know what I mean? So it's okay to play somebody with you don't want to put all that stress on him, game time scenario, and him have to worry about the play, this or that, and him executing a throw correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
So
know exactly what you mean. I was mentioning Nick Mullins. He was saying it was more mental. And the interesting about Nick Mullins was like it's been 2.5 years, and I don't know if we can say that he's back to 100% now after 2.5 years. We certainly, it'd be tough to say it after only 6 months, because he didn't play his first game as an NFL QB in a regular season game until a full year after he injured his UCL in Dallas. It was December 20th of 2020 in Dallas. And then he played again December 20th, literally a year to the day later, as a Brown against the Raiders, as backup for the Browns against the Raiders, and had a bad game, 147 passing yards, one TD, zero interceptions, and lost. That's the big thing. You can put up small numbers if you win, fine, who cares? But if you put up bad numbers and you lose, then you're going to get a little more criticism, in my opinion. And then he hasn't played a regular season game since. So, you know, I have doubts as to whether Brock will be ready 2 weeks before the season or for the season. Now, by the same token, with such little data, it's possible that Purdy could be ready more than 2 weeks before the season. I think that's extremely unlikely, but I have to go both ways with it, right? If I'm going to say there's uncertainty, I have to say with so little data, he could be one that resets the curve for NFL QBs and shows us, oh, hey, he did it in 11 weeks instead of 12 or 10 weeks or whatever, or, whatever the case may be is.
And
So, or I should
and
say,
I
5.5 months instead of 6.
I would also point out that Nick Mullins seemed very mentally strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And for him to say it was mentally, you know what I mean, and him not being able to necessarily have the success, his same amount of success, means that he might even be still lingering, like you were saying, and that who's to say that the same thing can't happen with Brock? I think Brock's going to be fine mentally. You know what I mean? But I would say the same thing about Nick Mullins. But you know what I mean? I feel that Brock is. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of the same guy. You know what I mean?
somebody I had on, I think it was Ty Alston, came on and he said a while back he made a comparison. He said Brock Purdy is like the love child of Jimmy G and Nick Mullins. That there's, if you put them at the 2 poles, Brock Purdy's kind of right in the middle between the 2 of them. I kind of like that comparison because Jimmy's got the stronger arm, he's a little bigger. Mullins has the weaker arm, he's a little smaller.
Jimmy's kind of laid back and chill, and Mullins kind of more aggressive. You know what I mean? And like Purdy's like an even Cole in between them. You know what I mean? Like he's.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the personality. That's a good point, Ryan. I hadn't even considered that portion of it, but yeah, so many parallels and interesting comparisons there. Damian Lee in the house saying, "Don't rush Brock." I think we can be pretty sure that Brock isn't going to let anybody rush him because remember at the owners' meeting, Lynch came out and said, "Oh, we're pretty sure Brock will be ready for training camp." And Kyle said, "Well, we think 6 to 8 months." And then Purdy said, "I don't know if I'll play this season, or certainly don't know when I'll play this season." And so I think, people can listen to Kyle, people can listen to John Lynch, people can listen to the national media, they can listen to the folks that were there at OTAs and minicamp. That's the people I trust the most. We got all the reporters who were there for both OTAs practices that were open to reporters and the 2 minicamp practices that were open to the reporters. I trust them. But ultimately, I'm waiting to hear from Brock Purdy himself when he says, "Hey, I'm ready to start week 1." That's when I'll start to believe it.
Yeah. We just don't know the effects on football players and how they come back. We don't have a big enough case study to figure things out. No, especially when you're also your specimen to essentially check your facts against is Nick Mullins, who it's not like it's a Patrick Mahomes, you know what I mean, or this or that. It's somebody who didn't have a lot of arm strength necessarily to begin with. You know what I mean? You don't have a good case study to see like how much of a decline you can get. You know what I mean? What a percentage kind of a decline you're going to get on something like it, or if you are, or you know what I mean? Like this is just annoying. Just chill. Like,
yeah, there's so little QBs that have had it. Only one before Purdy, and he's only played 1 regular season game. So there's very little data on him, too. I mean, I guess if you're going off Mullins' last game, there was the Cowboys game. I think he was doing all right there. But before that, he had a pick 6 and fumble 6 against the Commanders. So I guess 147 yards and 1 TD, no interceptions is a step up from a pick 6 and fumble 6 game. So maybe he did improve. Who knows? But again, too little data to make any kind of substantive, declaration about it. So Damien says no more.
He's not on a team at this moment, really.
Yeah, he's signed
under contract.
He hasn't passed his physical.
Yes.
Ugh. And
I do
Ryan,
not miss the hair.
And Ryan, if Jimmy fails his physical with the Raiders and then is available later, and it's like Jimmy or Sam Darnold, I mean, you think Kyle wouldn't jump for Jimmy? I think he could.
I'm thinking I might want to leave this chat because I don't want to be linked to the reason why Jimmy comes back to this team. Because you put it in you put it out there.
Oh, I've been talking about it for a while. Ever since it came out.
I'm blaming you if it happens.
he failed his physical, and the Raiders redid his contract, so they have zero guaranteed dollars due to him this year. So if he fails it again, they can cut him with zero cap implications for the 2023 season or any season beyond. So yeah, Jimmy, please pass your physical, stay with the Raiders. Let's
When you
end
had
this nightmare. End this
when you
nightmare.
when you had Dr. Pondia on, did you ask him about Jimmy's injuries?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I have to go back and rewatch. I just rewatched it and pulled the thing about Purdy because he was saying he thought Purdy wouldn't be back till at least week 3. And I thought that was notable as a medical expert. I also had Dr. Jesse Morse
Did
on the
he
show, and he
did
said
he
he would be surprised if Purdy was ready week 1.
Okay. And did they explain why?
Because just what we're talking about the timeline to be cleared to play is late August, maybe 2 weeks before week 1, but then you got to get all the mentals. You got to make sure you can rip it. You got to feel comfortable ripping it. You got to feel comfortable hitting your targets in timing, and you got to feel comfortable taking hits in the pocket. Very different for all the pitchers that most of this data is built, based upon pitching from a mound than QBs with 300-pound monsters trying to tear them limb from limb in the pocket. Yeah, the doctors all thought that, and also they thought, why rush? Why not give Trey Lance a chance to play and show what he can do? Everybody wants to know what he can do, especially since we haven't seen Lance with CMC. We've only seen Lance a little with Kittle. And we've barely seen Lance in any games where the Niners weren't struggling both before he played and after he played, right? We started 3-5 in 2021 and 3-4 in 2022. So it's not like Purdy, who took over after Jimmy was 4-0 with CMC starting. Very different situations. And the defense was humming, number 1 defense in the NFL. None of our QBs, other than Jimmy, has had the number 1 defense in the NFL, because I certainly don't think our defense played like the number 1 D against the Bears when they gave up nearly 100 yards in penalties, a drive extending play on every scoring drive by the Bears. Gibson dropped a pick. Dre Greenlaw had at least 2 or 3 penalties. Charvarius Ward had a hold. Kinlaw had a hold.
Dude, I have a feeling that Greenlaw was getting targeted by the refs unfairly. So I think they had the feeling this guy's just a troublemaker. He's a thug. You know what I mean? And which wasn't he's a little rough. Don't get me wrong. But like when he got that penalty for falling on the guy, like he slipped.
Yeah. Out of bounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
the
was
face mask was bad, but that was bad on Greenlaw. That was bad on the refs, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. And for him to get caught with a face mask, okay, that's not something you do on every play. You know what I mean? That's not in everything. So that's a once in you're not always seeing. So there's certain players or certain things that they'll keep doing over and over and over again, right? Because the refs don't call it. But you can see the fact that, face masks are going on. And, even if you can't call it because you didn't see it, you can then when you get in the huddle with your guys, you can say, hey, I need you to take a look at this because it looks like there's getting face mask and the guy's complaining, right? So that's when everybody stops and it doesn't go on anymore because now they know that now people are looking and they can't do it anymore. So like, it's not something that goes on like that. Like defensive linemen and offensive linemen, the holding stuff and, that's just always going to go back and forth. Those guys don't like each other. And anytime somebody's going to get a different edge, but the face mask is not a thing. Hands to the faces, you know what I mean? Definitely hands to the faces, but they're not trying to face mask on every play. So that's why it's like, you're going to get in trouble for that. Okay. That was a mistake. It happens. You feel something, your hand grabs, and in football, you feel something. It's really hard to know, oh, that's a face mask and just like not initially grab it, and it can be done. It just sometimes you're not thinking. You're like, if you're in a bad spot and you're thinking, I have to get this tackle because no one else is here, and the first thing you touch is his face mask, guess what? You're probably grabbing onto it because your first instinct is the moment I touch him, I have to grab him and wrestle him to the ground or stop him or do something, right? So when you already got it made up in your mind, it's hard to stop the actual movement.
It's tough. Trey had a few of those when he came back in 2021 late in the season. He had quite a few kind of questionable, not questionable from the ref's perspective, but questionable from his perspective of being a little too over aggressive. He needed to rein it in a little. And then he did for the playoffs, so that was good. Billy lighting fires here, Billy Boy 49. My question is, will Jimmy be ready week 1? What do you say to that, Ryan?
I don't know. He definitely could be, depending on what's going on. You know what I mean? I'm guessing it just needed a little cleanup.
Yeah, in March. He had a surgery in March on the foot.
So he should be good to go by week 1. Unless
I mean, they're saying maybe even training camp.
Unless there's no way they can fix it.
Oh. Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that this is a thing. I don't know what his all I'm saying is the fix. If they just cleaned him up, he should be ready to go week 1, I would think. But if there's a thing where like this guy's got this injury, it's never going to be the same again, and therefore he can never pass the physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's the case. But because like it wasn't as bad as like Trey's. You know what I mean? Like to me, it wasn't as bad as Trey's. So it should just need a cleanup and it should be fine again.
Yeah, except for like if it's Liz Frank, those things can be really tricky, foot injuries. And Patrick Willis obviously had that turf toe injury or whatever that kind of ended his career. So
turf toe sucks.
Yeah, feet are tricky for sure. Damian Lee says, "I bet Ryan misses his hair."
Not at all.
Not at all. No fuss, no muss.
Well,
Mr.
it's
Clean.
more of like it's summertime now. You get all that hair, and hair just holds in the heat. It's nice and insulative.
That's true. It's been hot in Seattle. I was up there for Mother's Day. It was like 90 or above 90 every day. It was cooking up there in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, we got all the humidity.
We've been chilly here in the Bay Area. We had like one nice Saturday, but I swear everything it feels more like fall weather here in June.
When it gets to like 96 in Washington in the summer, it feels like 110.
Yeah, with humidity.
With the humidity, yes. And at I remember one summer it got up to like 106, and I'm sitting camping. Right, it was so hot we spent the whole morning just drinking beer in the river. Like you take your folding chairs and you unfold them and you set them in the river to where the river hits the bottom of the cup holder.
There you go.
Okay, it keeps your beer cold, and then you can use your cooler as an ottoman. So we were doing that, and next thing you know, it gets to 106. Turns out I'm sitting there cooking corn dogs on a propane grill, and I'm getting rained on, and it's 106 degrees out.
Oh, jeez, that's wild. That is wild stuff.
In a van down by the river.
So, Damien, I hope you didn't bet your rent money when you bet that. McNiner says Billy Boy, or is talking to Billy Boy 49. He says James Richard Garoppolo is a fader's problem now. Like we said, only if he passes his physical. I think he will at some point pass his physical, but what are they going to do for starting QB till then? I mean, you can't count on Brian Hoyer, that's for sure. Damian Lee says,
I don't even know why you have Brian Hoyer on your team.
Because it's Josh McDaniels, so he had him in the Patriots.
I don't care.
So it's like the devil, you know.
I don't give a shit. Give me a rookie who has any sort of an upside. Yeah, any day over him.
Next Brock Purdy, right? Yeah, everyone should be shooting for that.
I don't care. I'm not looking for a starter, right? Jimmy's my starter in that situation. Right. I'm looking for somebody who could be a decent backup quarterback. Brian Hoyer is not that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like if you need somebody to let a team, get closer and in their defense to get a couple of, to make the game a little exciting, that's who you put in. You put in Brian Hoyer. You know what I mean? But no team's trying to do that. You know what I mean? No. So
that's wild. It's wild. I think some OCs they just want a vet who they don't have to train up and you know. I mean, not every rookie honestly is as good as Brian Hoyer. So, I mean,
Well, it
you know,
also could be his clipboard
there's
skills. We know
yeah.
that, not just not I'm not joking.
No, I'm with you.
I'm just saying the clipboard skills, like the
Additional coach.
somebody needs to hold the clipboard and do all the other stuff, the secretary work essentially during the game. Maybe he just excels at that. That's something we wouldn't know. You know what I mean? But still, I'd rather have a rookie in there.
There you go.
Give me a guy.
Damian Lee says I want a right tackle. Um, what do you think about McKivitz, Ryan? Are you feeling like we're in good hands at right tackle, or do you feel like? I mean, a lot of people didn't like McGlinchey. I think you were one of them.
Yeah. Well, the way I see it is I was very how would you put that? There was a lot of animosity last year. I was very uneasy with Brendel.
Mm-hmm.
And they proved to me that they making smarter decisions. They make, to me, I'm not
That
as
was
worried this year with how they speak about McKivitz. It was how they spoke about Brendel, and I think,
and Banks,
and well, yeah, and Banks, and I have a feeling. Oh, and Burford,
Burford. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think they're lying to us. Whether they're right or not, that's different. But they believe they've got a guy, and if they believe they've got a guy, I have a feeling he's not going to be the guy he will be week 1 as he will be week 17. I have a feeling it'll take him a good 5 or 6 games to kind of shake off the oh shit, I'm a starting tackle. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, and after that, I think we'll see him get better. So and it's not like I believe the 49ers when they say things. It just there's a track record of success. You know what I mean? There's a pattern that I've seen. And not that I believe them, but when you say all the same things about everybody else, and what you showed me in the draft was you really did not think you needed anybody. You know what I'm
No.
saying? So
Or
to
free
me,
agency,
yeah, you
other
could
than
be
Matt
wrong.
Pryor. But come on.
You could be wrong, but if they're wrong, they don't see it coming. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I trust our offensive line coach. His name is escaping me right now, but
Chris Forrester.
yeah, Forrester. He did a good job, pumping up Banks, Brendel, and Burford. Let's say Brunskill too, since they platoon there at right guard. And he basically said, "These are our guys. We trust them. We're going to ride with them till the wheels fall off." And there's
Yeah.
a line of thinking that maybe Kyle should have done more of that with Trey Lance.
Do you
But
remember why he's on our team?
who? Trey Lance?
No, Chris Forrester.
Forrester? No.
Well, he was the offensive line for Miami.
Oh,
And
I didn't
then
know.
he got in trouble snorting cocaine and talking to his
That's
side chick
right.
about the baby. Yeah.
That's right. I saw that video.
So
Whew,
we got ourselves a partier. You know what I mean?
partay. Well, as long as he
I'm
does
not.
good work, he's done good work on our O line, so I
I
gotta
don't
like
think
that.
he's doing that stuff now. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying
Hopefully not.
there was a time.
Hey, like they say, whatever it takes, man. No, I'm never going to advocate for drug use, illegal drug use, but you know, uh, I'm just happy he's doing a good job and developing O lineman for us. We haven't had that for a while, so
Cocaine ain't
yeah,
fun.
I'm a little nervous about right tackle, but I feel like McKivitz is probably a better pass blocker than McGlinchey. And, Burford supposedly got rocked up in the offseason, gained some muscle, got rid of some baby fat. So that sounds good. I'm bummed we don't have Brunskill, but I guess we have Feliciano instead. So maybe he can fill a similar role if needed. So, yeah, I mean, I feel decent about our O line. Just wish we had a little more depth. I would like a better swing tackle than Matt Pryor or Jalen Moore. I don't trust either of them, but they seem to like Matt Pryor. So maybe they know about him too. I don't know.
Well,
Um,
maybe it's maybe it's kind of like a Chris Kosurik thing. Maybe they looked at his tape and thought, oh, on these plays, we wouldn't be asking him to do what he's doing. So, you know what I mean? Like maybe it's like when he's pulling or something like, or maybe when he's doing, something like that, he's, not very efficient with it. And they're just like, okay, we just won't ask him to do that. You know what I mean? Because the 49ers kind of do that. They don't care about certain people and their certain athletic talents because it doesn't match up with what they need as far as the talents go. You know what I mean? Like is having moves. Like they don't care if you got this fancy move. You need to have a bull rush. You know what I mean? If you can't bull rush, 49ers don't really need you. You know what I mean? Like if you're on the line, you have to have a bull rush.
No doubt about it. I'm with you there. Anshul, formerly known as 49er Media, is now the Shaw Show. I did a Warriors show with him earlier today at 2:30. We had a great show. Everybody be sure check it out on his channel, my channel. Give us some likes and subscribes on both, please. We would appreciate it. Damian Lee says, well, first he said Jimmy will be good by week 2. The something clears up by then. And I don't think he meant PALC. But I don't know. I'm not sure. If you could rehash that, we could know. Damon says, Ryan, I keep my hair braided, I guess to stay cool. Says, in a van down by the river. Love that. Chris Farley bit from Saturday Night Live. That was a classic for sure.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Chris. He was a classic. I mean, a lot of people, my last designer and producer, Benji, called me Tommy Boy because I'm chubby. And he said, fat guy in a little visor. And so he was griefing me about that.
He was so damn good. And it was like, he didn't have to do everything he did all the time to be as great as he was either.
Talk about nose candy. There's another one. Him and John Belushi, all those guys from Saturday Night Live were like Hoovers, I think.
Well,
just gluttons in general.
Coke isn't fun unless you got a lady with you. Just saying.
Fair enough. We used to always just call it more because that's all you talk about. How much more do we have? Where do we get more? More. This is never enough, it seemed like, unless you got like a Scarface pile worth or something. So
that's what I'm saying. You got to have a lady around to preoccupy you.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And then you can take breaks in the middle of it.
Brown.
Top it off. You know what I'm saying? Top it off and then go right back to,
say hello to my little friend.
Bashar in the house saying more.
Yeah. Anshul saying Brian Hoyer. Oh my God, please no.
Yes.
Damien, I put Brian Hoyer in just to load up the bus. I'm not sure I get that reference. Maybe that's a Bettis reference. I'm not sure. McGlinchey just unsubscribed to Ryan and No Border Sports. Oh man, it doesn't matter. Ryan's blowing up, so I don't think he's going to miss one sub.
He had probably unsubscribed a while ago when I had Lawrence on, and Lawrence was saying he was a redwood tree. I made me a little short about him.
There you go. That probably did it. But yeah, Ryan is blowing up, and props to him. And he's helped me, and now I'm starting to grow with some better titles and thumbnails and stuff. My thumbnails still have a long way to go. My titles are definitely doing a little better, and it's showing. So thanks for all your help, Ryan. I appreciate it. Some people would just hoard that knowledge, but Ryan very freely shares it with people that he likes. And so I'm glad to be in your inner circle, Ryan. It means a lot to me.
There's no sense in hoarding good information, especially with people that you like and care about.
I agree 100%. That's what life's all about. David McNair says McKivitz equals McChokeslammed. I think reference to Micah Parsons slamming him in the
also he likes to call him McGlitchy because of the time. Remember when he let the guy just run off the edge and he kind of he moved up and then moved back in the stance. Like, was I supposed to get that guy? Oh, fuck it. I'll just stay here like I didn't know.
Damien says, so Henry Hill is our OC. Love it. Little Goodfellas reference. Palk is clap backwards. Oh, man. That's a good one, Damien. Palk, P-A-L-C, is clap spelled back. When the clap clears up, you say.
Yeah.
I guess porn star Jimmy might pick up a thing or two.
Nah, all he needs is a little insulin. Or not insulin, but penicillin. There you go.
Penicillin, antibiotics, yeah. Chris
Yeah.
Farley was amazing. I was so mad when he was gone. Yeah, him and Belushi were two that killed me from Saturday Night
So
Live fame.
there's a
More.
there's a
Absolutely.
story I heard about Jim Belushi in the filming of the Blues Brothers. He got pissed off at the director during the scene where when they get out, when he gets out and they're going at night and they get pulled over by the cops and then they go on that chase and then they end up in the mall.
Yeah, of course.
So they're filming in the neighborhood and John Belushi gets pissed off at the director, just walks off set. Nobody know where the hell he went, right? So they start knocking on doors at like 9:00 at night in this neighborhood. Finally, they get to one door. They knock on the door. This guy answers. He looks at everybody and goes, "Yeah, he's here on the couch." Right? They didn't even ask him anything. And he just goes, "Yeah, he's here on the couch." He's passed out on the couch, right? Turns out what happens. He knocks on the door. So the guy answers it like he did before, or did, the second time. John Belushi looks at him, says, "You know who I am." And he just walks into the house, goes into the fridge, makes a sandwich, eats the sandwich, and then passes out on the dude's couch.
Sounds about par for the course.
Man, what a legend.
Like, when he did the song "Slicking His Throat" in Animal House, love that.
You have to have some balls to go into another man's house and just make a sandwich out of his sandwich materials. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
I'm sorry.
No shame in that man's game. He was just like, hey, you're lucky to have me.
Exactly.
Now,
you're
shut
welcome.
it. Yeah. You're welcome. Burp. I could just see it. I could just hear it. That's classic. Laura Cat in the house saying, "Hey, Ted and Ryan." Also giving some love for Bashar, our buddy Bash.
When I watched Blues Brothers for the first couple times, I was always like, why is that lady obsessed with him? You know what I mean? Like, Princess Leia is trying to, like, she's so in love with him. She's like, and I'm like, he's not an attractive guy whatsoever. Why is she just like, he's everything? I could not wrap my mind around that. But then I realized it was there for comedic relief.
Well,
when I got older.
I feel like women are maybe a little bit less attracted to men's looks, maybe more to like their power and their charisma, and like charisma, not physical charisma, but their personality charisma, whereas men tend to be very more visual. And
I understand that part, but tell me what part of that personality would turn any woman on that you know.
Yeah, I mean, none that I know.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? I don't know of a one woman.
There's someone for everyone, Ryan. There's someone for everyone.
But I don't know one woman that looks like that would want to deal with anybody like him. Like, his character wasn't like funny. Like, if his character was him in real life, I could totally see that. Women love to laugh. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, anyway.
Damien's going Hunger Games on us with his reference to the earlier conversation of only good with a woman. He said Jennifer. They asked who. He said Jennifer Lawrence. So Hunger Games. Although usually don't get too hungry when you're doing more.
No.
McNiner saying hi to Laura Cat, and Damien saying Princess Leia wanted Han. Han was awesome, man. What a great character.
I liked it. My least favorite is Princess Leia.
Yeah, she was kind of snooty, wasn't she?
You know what I'm saying? Like, she wasn't a down-ass chick. She was later on. The only thing I really liked about her is Darth Vader's in her face trying to say shit, and she's like, "Nah, fuck you." You know what I mean? Like, that's
otherwise she was kind of a snob, wasn't
she? Exactly.
Kind of like, oh, you're from the wrong side of the tracks. I don't like
that. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, anybody could have a kid, that comes up with the Force. You better just chill. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Should we divert back to some
most definitely
football talk here? So obviously a lot going on in the news. We got national reporters coming out left and right. Albert Breer mostly recently, and then another guy from ESPN, and they're all parroting the same nonsense that was started by Adam Schefter. Basically, no trade value for Trey Lance. Darnold has the edge. Purdy will be ready by week 1. Or if Purdy's ready by week 1, then it'll be Darnold, unless Lance. And they always leave themselves out. This is the sick part of these stupid takes, is that they always say, well, there's a chance that Lance can, beat out Darnold. He can make up, when meanwhile, like everybody we got there is saying it's even, or Lance has a slight advantage over Darnold so far from everything we're hearing from people we trust that were there watching themselves. None of these people, these big guys, were there.
I could pretty much say Trey Lance has an advantage on him because Trey Lance has been in the system for 2 years. If their throws are equal, Trey Lance has an advantage on him just for the fact that he knows the system more inside and out. So to me, it just makes no sense. And this is the other thing, okay? At this point, y'all just keep on coming out like regurgitating other people's stuff, right? So we already heard this. So unless you got a source that's new, close to the team, I don't want to hear shit. You know what I mean? Unless you could say, oh, Brian Greasy's telling me this. Unless you could say John Lynch is telling me this. If you could tell me Kyle's saying this, that's what I want to hear. Until then, we already heard your last update. We don't need to hear anymore.
It's all the same stuff regurgitated 1,000 different ways.
It's the same news, just repackaged and spit out a week later. Come on now.
Got Aaron from 49ers First Takes in the house. Welcome, Aaron.
What up?
What up? We miss you. Get back soon. Get better. Feel better. And, man, can't wait to chop it up with you again. Hopefully maybe when training camp comes around or whenever you're feeling ready. But we'll be here for you, pal. 100%. Jimmy Perez in the house saying hi. Damian Lee was saying that Ryan Mallett died. Bash saying R.I.P. Ryan Mallett. I guess he drowned. Was it in Florida?
Ryan Mallett?
He's like an old Patriots backup quarterback, I think. Maybe for Brady at some point, maybe after Jimmy G left or something. Not a really big name, but a name I remember vaguely.
Sorry for their loss. I didn't know the man.
Bash saying hi to Aaron. Aaron saying hi. Yeah, I don't know all the details on it, but it sounded like, I'm guessing he was swimming in the ocean, but I don't want to guess. So we'll see if other people know more details. Joy Arredondo in the house. Joey has a new podcast too, I'm pretty sure. So really make sure to give him a like and a subscribe.
Check out Joey.
He's in the I think he's in the 49ers podcast network with us. I'm pretty sure.
I believe he is too.
And Brandon added him there. So welcome to that too, Joey. I've seen you in a lot of audiences, and I've seen you in mine a few times. We've interacted a little bit on. In fact, yeah, we were interacting a little on timeline, and someone said like, "Oh, Joey Arredondo, he's like Ted's puppet," or something along those lines. He's like on, doing what Ted wants. And I'm like, dude, we've barely ever interacted, and he's his own person. Like I don't have an army of people, backing me up. I get out there and swing on my own, but not that I didn't appreciate it. I appreciated him agreeing with me, and Joey has good takes from everything I've seen. But I would never say that.
And he's hilarious.
Holding to me in any way.
And Joey's hilarious too. So make sure to follow him both on YouTube and Twitter.
I guess those are the same people that were trying to say that I was a Grant minion. And I'm like, dude, I disagree with Grant. I wouldn't say all the time, but when I do, I let Grant know.
Yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with that. Grant likes that.
Yeah. He doesn't want an echo chamber either. Neither do I. Neither does Ryan.
Because also, like, when we come at, and look, when you come at somebody and say you're wrong and this is why, they now have a chance to strengthen their argument because you are poking holes in it. So now you've got a chance to go cover up them holes and maybe go even a step further to prove why your point is right. You know what I mean? So don't ever be scared of somebody pushing back. Just
we don't want to spread bad info, right? And also it gets us ready for opposing fan bases too. You don't want to go in cold to an argument with an opposing fan base. It's good to kind of iron sharpens iron with 49ers fans. So when the Seahawks and Rams and Cowboys and Eagles fans come, our blades are sharp and ready to eviscerate them.
I'll tell you, if any team has a quarterback controversy this year, we will be ready to flame them.
Yes, no doubt about it.
We'll be so used to flaming ourselves.
No doubt about it. No, it's important. And yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be discord in Niner land Twitter as long as, half the fan base wants Trey Lance and half the fan base wants Brock Purdy. And I think it is pretty close to a 50-50 split, according to a poll that I saw earlier. And it's part of the reason why eventually, if we ever do decide one of these guys is the guy, is a franchise QB, that then we probably do need to ship the other one out to have solidarity in the fan base, but probably more importantly, solidarity in the locker room, in the media, where we can just get behind one of these guys and ride with them till the wheels fall off, if you will, kind of like how Forster does, what our offensive line coach does with our O linemen. We can hopefully do the same thing with our QBs and fully support them, help their confidence, help them to be the best they can be, instead of being like, oh, we're gonna have a competition, or we're gonna keep Jimmy G around and see how that messes with your confidence or whatever.
And if we're going to get rid of Trey or Brock, at any point in time and trade them, I want to make sure we're trading them to a spot that's good for them. To me, Trey didn't get a fair shake, and Brock, for what he did for us, definitely deserves, some thought. You know what I mean? So to me, that's what I want to see. Like, I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by them because we fucked up.
Absolutely. And I just don't want to buy super high on Lance and sell super low, and then have him go to another team and reach his ceiling there. And then just, Kyle will never live that down. And I think more importantly, as fans, we'll never hear the end of it, because Kyle might not be here much longer after something like that happens. And I'd say with good reason, we'll never hear the end of it. Like, we had the guy, we drafted number 3 overall. We didn't develop him, let him slip through our fingers, go to another team. They develop him. He turns into, I won't say Mahomes, but, a great quarterback, an elite quarterback, a franchise QB. And Purdy turns out to be kind of what we think he is. He's a good, solid QB, but never going to be elite. So embarrassing. And we would deserve to get ridiculed till the end of time for a maneuver like that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is I don't know if heads would roll if Trey Lance didn't do well. If the right things happened, it would have been like, oh man, that sucks. Like, imagine if we got our 6th Super Bowl. I mean, that's
what McNiner's saying here.
Which annoys me, because you need to be taken behind the woodshed for something like this, for just screwing around with 3 years of first-round draft capital. You know what I mean? You should get your your hide tanned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah. And I'm not saying you got to fire him, but there needs to be something. You know what I mean? Make pay his ass for Cabo for, ever now. Like, no, if you want to go to Cabo, you got to pay your own fucking way. Like, do something. Like, make him pay back some money. You know what I mean? Fine him. I don't know. Do something.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, and maybe Purdy can win us the Super Bowl. I mean, I felt like we had a pretty good chance in 2022, but things have changed. As much as some people malign McGlinchey, there's really no evidence yet that McKivitz is better. Like I said, we had Burford platooning with Brunskill, but he's gone now. So there's some question marks there on that right side of the line. And I just say that, we were exceptionally healthy rolling into the 2022 playoffs. We were missing Emmanuel Mosley and a bunch of QBs. But if you say that Brock Purdy was our best QB in 2022, then if he stays healthy, we don't miss the QBs. And if you say that Delmar Lenore was ascending, maybe better than Charvarius Ward in the playoffs as a corner, then, I don't know how much you miss Emmanuel Mosley. So I think it's almost a certainty that we'll be more banged up going into the 2023 playoffs, especially given the fact that you've probably seen that stat, Ryan, of how we're minus 20 rest days on the season.
Yes.
And there's 3 teams that are plus 12 rest days. The Bears, the Jets, and I forget the third team. I always forget. Somebody told me.
I thought the Jets were more than plus 12.
No, that's the biggest delta. 32 days more than us. So over a month more rest in like a 3.5, 4 month season, which adds up. So like I was sort of like, maybe we'll go 13-4 again, or maybe 12-5 if I'm a little off, right? But with that, I'm flipping my Ravens prediction because the Ravens are +9 rest days. We're -20. They're getting almost a full month more rest than we are, and we play them towards the end of the season in Baltimore. So like that's when lack of rest really starts to cascade and show up, is at the end, usually at the end of the season. And so I'm maybe going to flip that prediction and say I think we're 12-5, or maybe if I was off 11-6 for the season because of that crappy rest.
I don't know.
But ultimately, like with Purdy, he was enough to give us a chance to win in 2022, but 2023 could be very different.
Yeah.
Our offensive weapons were also very healthy for the playoffs too.
To get over the rest days and all that, I think we really need to lean on our depth this year. And we need to start, giving some of our guys not just plays off, but games off. You know what I mean? And letting our depth do work. I think that's really
load
important.
Management, like in the NBA. Then you're saying?
Yes. If somebody is if someone's ankle is aching, you got a good replacement. It not a tough game. Maybe the matchup across that person isn't as as dangerous as next week. Then yeah, you take a rest week. You know what I mean? You come to practice, learn everything we're doing. But yeah, I want you just resting. I don't. We're gonna have to figure out some way to stay healthy because we play too rough both in practice and on the field, which is great when we're all healthy. But when you have a lack of rest days and you're not healthy, I mean, that could be the end of a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's true. And if I don't know, when you first said it, my gut instinct was like, oh, it sounds kind of soft. But if you think about why it happened in the NBA, what really started load management, as a Warriors fan, I'm acutely aware of it. It was the Warriors going 73-9 in the regular season and then losing to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals. And it really taught me that seeding is less important. Even the number one seed with the bye and home field advantage for the NFC Championship game, to me, is less important than going into the playoffs rested, healthy, and hot. And so if load management furthers that, as long as you make the playoffs and you're healthy, rested, and hot, that's my number one scenario. Now, if you can get that and the bye, great. That's ace number one scenario. But seeding by itself doesn't mean much if you're all beat up and tired and not playing well at that point because of it.
The way I see it, we usually catch our steam going into the end of the season, so we get on a roll.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about where we have to play. We're a great road team. We play physical, and we're usually on a roll going into the playoffs. So like, it's not where, it's if you can show up. And I feel we could show up. And as long as everybody's healthy, like, look at what Kittle was talking about. He's like, man, last year was, so good. We got Christian, this and that. I'm finally feeling healthy going into the season. Debo's finally feeling healthy going to the end of the season. Also, he slimmed down a little bit and was kind of back to himself. You know what I mean? So we had the stars and the moon were aligned, and yeah, we had an asteroid come hit us in the face.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Emiliano says that's why we're in a Super Bowl NFC Championship game. You need to win because you never know what's going to happen in the future, i.e. injuries, free agency, difficulty, next season schedule, et cetera.
Exactly.
Et cetera. That's exactly right. And
To me, winning the Super Bowl isn't like it was in the 80s. You know what I mean? In the 80s, like, I'm not to say that it was easy, but look at how the 49ers were able to do it repeatedly. And look at how during the 90s, they were even able to, through the 80s and 90s, even if they weren't winning one, they were always competitive and fighting to get to one. They were always, one game from it. So to me, it was like back then it was easier to put a good team together if you were a smart owner slash coach, GM, all that, right? But nowadays, I think everybody, read the Bill Walsh book, and everybody's talked, at the bar and told each other their secrets. So now everybody knows all the secrets on how to do all this stuff. And it's just who can actually catch lightning in a bottle and put them all together. Uh, and that's where we're at. We've got lightning in a bottle. We're like the Bills. We've got an amazing team. Everybody is licking their chops, wishes they could have a team built like ours. Guess who's winning championships? Not either of us. And it's just because you can't, just because you could put the team together doesn't mean that the coin is going to flip and say heads every single time you flip it, because it's a 50-50 chance when it comes down to it in the playoffs, man. It's just tough.
Yeah, I mean, salary cap tore us down, free agency, more portability for players, and picking at the end of rounds for years and years in a row caught up with us as well too. So yeah, and that's what makes the Patriots' achievements all the more impressive. Winning 3 with sort of one core, and then 3 more with another core. The main thing there, though, is that the salary cap was somewhat circumvented by Brady taking probably about half what his market rate was for top QBs in the market at those times. So, yeah, no, it's interesting stuff, and we are starting to become the Buffalo Bills of this era. Not quite. I mean, they went to 4 Super Bowls in a row and lost them all. But losing any Super Bowls is painful. And now that we've lost 2 in a row, even more painful after going 5 in a row, thinking, oh, well, every time we go, we win one. And yeah, guess not. So that does make it a little rougher. No doubt about it. As far as, did you see that Alex Rollins video that Jesse Naylor posted, where basically he was saying Purdy and Jimmy are the same guy?
Yes, it is.
What'd you think of it, Ryan?
Thought he made great points. Not to say that they're all right, or they're not that he's 100% right on all of them. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely obviously some more context and nuance that you could put into those thoughts that might give you a better view of things. But for the most part, like, he nailed a lot of stuff on the head. And like,
it made sense, right? It made sense.
Like, I was talking about, like, I don't care if it's dink or dunk. I'm just not trying to have 8 man in the box, single high safety. You know what I mean? And, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. But I just don't want single high 8 man in the box every first and second down. And it's not that I'm scared that we can't win games like this, because we've been able to do it. It's that we won't have to do as much to score and keep drives alive if we can just have one man outside of the box having to fear for his life that somebody is going to catch a ball deep downfield or behind him. You know what I mean? It has to worry about people getting behind him. That's all I want, is to give more space so we can have a bigger hole for somebody to make a cut in, and then get into the safeties and the linebackers.
Yeah, you got the big arm, keeps 2 safeties back out of the box instead of the single high robber that we see so much with Jimmy and Purdy. And then the top speed of a quarterback like a Trey Lance forces one of the guys that's in the box to spy him and not pay attention to anybody else. So you're effectively taking 2 defenders out of the box. That gives you better chance to run, better chance to get yak, better chance to scramble. Well, not scramble, because that's what the spy eliminates. But it gives everyone else a better chance. And even if you're not throwing deep a lot, just the threat of it makes people respect it. And so these people saying, "Oh, we don't need to throw deep. The system doesn't need it." Like, it's just ridiculous. Just look at the Falcons 2016. They were number 1 offense in the league. Matt Ryan was MVP, and they led the league in air yards. Some people say, "Oh, Julio." And Julio was probably better than any of our receivers at peak Julio. But, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle are better than their big 3. And, of course, with Christian McCaffrey, it was better than any of their running backs at catching. So our weapons group is still better. And so I just think you can't discount the defense. And I'm not saying arm strength is everything. I'm not saying QBs don't bust that have strong arms. We all know that's not the case. It's not the most important thing, but it is important. Um, and the most important thing is decision making, accuracy, timing, leadership. Those are the most important things. But then strong arm is probably next.
Because I'm not trying to go down the field every other pass. I'm not.
No,
I'm trying to go
no,
down the field with a big pass, maybe once a quarter, maybe
yeah,
once a half. You know what I
just to
mean?
keep them honest.
Keep them honest, and also keep yourself sharpened. Because hey, at the end of the game, if we need to go down and score in 30 seconds, I need you to kind of be used to kind of doing that throughout the game. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm looking for.
Me too. Me too. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when Jesse posted it, I said basically like I think Purdy's at least a little better than Jimmy G. Like all things considered, or not even all things, but just head to head on the football field. I felt more secure with Purdy as our quarterback than I did with Jimmy G. But I said, I think that the gap is a lot closer than a lot of people want to admit. Obviously, when you factor in that Purdy is much younger and about 22 times cheaper than Jimmy G, then he's obviously a way, way, way better value. But overall, as quarterbacks, I think they're more similar than a lot of people would really like to admit. And
They have numbers that were very similar last year. Then they have numbers that weren't necessarily similar.
yeah, I
So
mean, Jimmy's
there's
better early after the snap on those first reads, first 2.5 seconds of the play. Purdy's better when things break down, the second, third, and fourth reads. So they
but
each kind of did
and
things better than the other.
Purdy was like guaranteeing you 2 touchdowns a game through the air,
Yeah,
and he was barely getting interceptions. Now,
yeah,
there should have been some that were intercepted, but they weren't. But
yeah.
as
That's what
far
the
as the
video
stats
says.
go, yeah, like, and that was our big dig on Jimmy. Like you throw an interception for every 2 touchdowns, which he didn't do last year. Jimmy himself had a better
Four to
year.
one, 4-1,
Yeah.
first time
So
ever.
yeah. So to
Yeah,
me, it's like
and
I
Jimmy
think
got more yards. So Purdy had more touchdowns. Jimmy got more yards. So I mean, I'd rather have the TDs, but yards count too.
I don't always rather have TDs over
Yeah,
yards. I don't give a shit about the yards. I don't care. Yards don't directly mean anything to the ending score of the game.
yeah. Like I said, I'd rather have TDs, but I
Yep.
think in yards sometimes can be garbage time stats for sure. But
But also it's showing that the offense was moving, and that's good. You know what I mean? It's not saying, "Hey, I can win games," but it's saying at least I'm moving the offense. You know what I mean? To me, yards does.
Emiliano has a good comment. Basically, quote, Falcons had Julio, so the 49ers should not even try to think about going downfield with any consistency. The level of logic with some fans is hilarious at times. No, straight up, a lot of the Lance haters just lie, 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 lie. I mean, they sit there and they try and say the CMC wasn't important to the offense. They sit there and,
Yes.
I mean, it's ridiculous the way they try to downplay him. There was just a CBS Sports came out and said, they have him ranked as the number one running back for 2023, not
Do you?
because of a pure runner, but because of his running, and of course, he's the best receiving
Yeah.
running back out there by far.
But it's like, do you want Brandon Ayuk to catch the ball around a cornerback, a safety, and a linebacker? Or do you want Brandon Ayuk to catch the ball between a safety and a cornerback? You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
he might make both of them miss and make a house call. You know what I mean? Like the difference, when you don't have to, like everybody says, make the first man miss, right? You're supposed to make the first man miss. Okay. So what are you supposed to do on the second guy? They know that after 2 people, it's hard to get away. You know what I mean? Because the first one will slow you down, you make a miss, and then you try to wiggle for a couple more yards. So if he can figure out a way to wiggle both of them, I mean, and I'm not saying they got to be like 60 yarders. If we got a guy who could throw consistently 25 yards, towards the sidelines, outside the numbers, whenever they want, that's where I'm trying to throw the ball, because it essentially puts the ball where only the receiver can get it if you're throwing it right and on time. You know what I
No
mean?
doubt about it.
And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to squeeze it in there. I'm not trying to just throw it away if there's an issue. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get the threat out there. If we get it, hey, I'm happy because we're farther down the field. If we don't get it, I'm happy because all them people now are making mental notes on that defense. Like, oh, you know what I mean? If they know they're going to do it once a quarter and you don't do it that quarter, you know what I mean? All they did was sit back on their haunches waiting for you for a whole quarter and you didn't do what they were doing. You just playing with them. That's what I want Kyle to do. Why doesn't Kyle want that power? He everything else he does, he calls offensive plays because of what the defense is going to bring. He does not go out there and this is my offense. I like this play. I'm going to run this play. That's not how he game plans. You know what I mean?
Do you think Kyle likes getting all the credit for winning
Yes,
with
Kyle
TV?
and his game plan is the star. Look at how everybody's talking. Any quarterback can go and play over there, right? He loves all that shit. You know why? Because he's the brains. He's figured out. He's done all the heavy lifting for everybody. All they have to do is exactly what he says, and everything will be perfect. He wants that. Why do you think he sits in the conferences after they lose or bad situations, this and that? And he's like, well, it's not my fault. Because he's, he believes in his head. He's figured everything out. He's done all the heavy lifting for people. All they have to do is complete it. He, like I said, he does his offensive game of plans around what the defensive coordinator does and what he knows the defensive coordinator is bread and butter. He's not
he knows how to put defenses in conflict.
Yeah, other people go out there and like, oh, how are we gonna use our offense to do this? You know what I mean? His whole offense is everything you need to do all of that already. He's just taking the plays and go, this guy likes to call this, this, and this. That means there's responsibilities to this, this, and this. That means I'm going to attack this, this, and this. And that's how he builds a game plan. So to me, I don't understand how he doesn't want to. In that video, did you see what was it? It was the side by side of the passes thrown that were higher than the average league in that area of the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, to me, Jimmy's was a little blurrier, and Brock's was a little clearer, but they were the same freaking image.
Yeah.
Like if you noticed, there was a blank spot right in the middle, and that's where the Mike linebacker sits. But they go
Jimmy's blind spot.
they go from right to left of it and in front behind it. You know what I mean? They go all around it, but they don't go anywhere in the center of the field there. You know what I mean? Or at least higher than most. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, Kyle, there's some spots on that graph you could be hitting, bro. And it's just gonna pull. It's just gonna pull every time you hit different spots. It's gonna pull people more into that area, right? So if you're hitting everywhere on the field, they're gonna be spaced out hella. And if they go into it like a zone, and they gotta be back deep, and then they gotta have your linebackers this and there playing up, a little bit further back. All those underneaths are gonna be there. There's also gonna be more space in between linebackers because you might have to do a couple levels of zones because you know what I mean? Because all the other guys are running deep. So to me, like, I just think it's better for him. I don't understand why he's not like doing everything he can to bring that to the team, into his arsenal, into his bag. To me, it makes no sense.
Yeah, like Emiliano too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I could draw up offensive plays all day long. You know what I mean? I can think it up. I could do all this. I'm not saying I'm a Kyle Shanahan, but if I can see why this totally helps our offense out, I'm not understanding why he's so hesitant on doing it.
Yeah, I think it comes down to he wants the credit. Emiliano says the deep threat will open up the yak plays. How some 49ers can't see that is mind-boggling.
This is the other thing I think about too. He's great with some passing schemes, right? Like I believe he likes to do the stretch and all these other, but maybe he's just not good at like the air raid type passing schemes.
Or maybe he doesn't like 50-50 balls. But I
because
think if you scheme them up right, they're running wide open deep too. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe he doesn't know how to scheme them open.
or he just didn't trust Jimmy and Purdy, and maybe once he has someone like
But
Lance,
see,
maybe
what
we'll
I'm
see it.
talking about, if you hit them deep down the numbers, on the sideline,
Right.
then that's not a 50-50 ball, really. That could be
That's true.
a throw it away ball, or it's a reception ball. That's the 50-50 it could be. You know what I mean? Instead of like a interception. And I'm down with a 50-50 ball. If it's third and long, you know what I'm saying? And you go 30, 40 yards down the field, they intercepted on the 10. I'm happy with that. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's an arm punt. It's an arm punt.
Yeah.
Izzy's saying, Ryan, I like the brighter setup. We can see you better. I also see some new No Border Sports hats. Are those the kind of
Oh,
black and bright green there?
yeah. This is after remember my
It looks like
old,
Seahawks colors, man.
that's kind of why I changed my old logo. I
Oh
like the
yeah, you
green.
did kind of have the green. That's
I
right.
like the green because it was noticeable. You know what I
It
mean?
was
It
eye
was,
catching.
yeah, exactly. And then I realized anybody who sees that doesn't know that's just going to be mostly Niners content. You know what I mean? So I started redevising my plan.
There you go. Well, shout out to everyone on the East Coast. Hope you're all staying safe through the thunder and lightning. I don't think we talked about it on this show, but on one of my
No.
shows earlier today, I was saying my wife is back there in New Jersey. And when she was trying to land at Newark, there was lightning storms on Sunday and they had to divert to Philly. She ended
Oh,
up taking
wow.
an Uber, crazy rain across the whole Eastern seaboard,
She had to go
6,500
to
flights
Philly.
canceled.
Oh, that
She had
poor
to,
thing.
they landed in
Oh,
Philly. And then, well, she got to get a cheesesteak, so that's good.
I would have asked to be tossed out the door. It would probably been a better landing.
There you go. And I think it's a short trip to New Jersey from Philly, at least where she is in northern Jersey by New York City. But shout out to everybody. Hope everybody's being safe.
I
And
heard
Melissa's
Philly
talking
women
about
smell
a
like
little bit about
cabbage.
that. Is that what was that? Austin Powers, the carnies. They smell like cabbage with small fingers or something like that.
No. I was talking
Carnies.
about South Park.
Philly carnies.
There's an episode where they do
It's the worst kind of carny, a Philly carny.
what was that? The Jersey Shore. They do the Jersey Shore,
Oh
and like
god.
the one was
GTL
like
baby. GTL.
muff cabbage. Then she just walks out and says muff cabbage, right? And
Pookie.
ever
No,
since
what was her name?
no,
Snooky.
it was
Snooky.
Snooky was like the monster that they were trying to find. And then what was that dude's name who like only did arm workouts?
Situation.
Yes. So he gets held hostage. I think that's the same one with Kanye West. Is that the gay fish? I can't remember, but oh no, it's later. It might be the Hobbit. It might be the Hobbit too, where Kim Kardashian's the Hobbit. But anyway, they're sitting there trying to beat him in for information, and like he's sitting there holding up his shirt so you could see his abs, and they're like beating him with the bat, and he's not trying to get away. He's just sitting there and making sure, like it hurts, but at least you can see my abs. You know what I mean? Like it's like what? It's
Hey,
an
if I had a
amazing
six
show.
pack, I'd probably do that too. Yeah, good stuff. Melissa was correcting my where she's staying though wasn't Newark. She was flying into Newark and then staying in North Jersey. But she was saying Newark isn't North Jersey. It's a huge car ride. So she didn't have to Uber all the way to Newark, luckily. The Jersey Shore is all about New Yorkers from Poughkeepsie. F off New Yorkers pretending to be Jersey. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Get them. Long Island. They're from Long Island.
Oh my gosh.
Melissa's giving some. She's a little peeved here, folks. Watch out.
My bad, Melissa.
Don't test
My
her.
bad.
Don't test her.
I was
Don't
just
mess
saying,
with Izzy.
I was just talking about
Izzy's
South
in a
Park.
tizzy. Sorry.
I never said that they were New Jersey, but the show says New Jersey Shore. That's the only reason why I said that.
Filmed. That's where it was filmed. Yeah, I didn't realize they were from New York either. What else is going on in the news? We had the Debo calling himself out. We had Kittle saying Lance has taken significant steps forward since last year. Anything else you want to talk about, Ryan, or should we start wrapping things up? I know we're an hour and 15 here, so
We can wrap it up. I want to thank the chat though.
chat was
Appreciate you guys.
popping.
Yeah,
As
appreciate
always,
you all.
great interaction. Great guests and great chat makes for a good show for me. So I like it when you guys carry me like our D and run game carried Jimmy G.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's get rid of that single high safety. Let's make them play us straight up and fair.
11 on
And
10, 10, 11 on 11 instead of 11 on 10,
no, if we could do it right, if with Trey Lance in there, to me it would be 10 on 11 or 9 on 11.
Yeah, because one's got to watch him running, one's got to watch him throwing deep. Meanwhile, everyone else is running wild. So I love it. I love it. Well, good. Well, let's yeah. Thanks everybody for coming. Ryan, what else you got going on this week? Anything you want to promote coming up?
So Mariah at 6 o'clock in about 42 minutes, going to have a show with Beto, Bashar, Mariah, and I. Well, obviously, if I'm going to have a show with them, I just don't know what channel it is on right now. Hold on, let me see if I can.
There you go, and then I'll promote my stuff.
Yeah,
I've got tomorrow at noon, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, 8 GMT. We've got Neil Graham from the 49ers Faithful UK. Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. Got Terror Dome, the Jimmy G, not the Jimmy G, the Brock Purdy Super Stand. And then Bash and I are going 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern on Thursday. We moved up a day.
Is Terror Dome really a stand, though? I don't know.
Have you seen him in the chats, dude? He just comes in and he's just spitting out facts. Call me the equivocator because I provide context to the Purdy stats, and saying, but.
I don't see him trashing Lance, right?
Right. No. He doesn't. He's just super pro Purdy. He's not a Lance hater.
He believes that Trey Lance is the best option for us in the quarterback position for our best outcome, essentially.
Yeah, I think he likes him better than Darnold. He's not.
That's why I wouldn't call him a stan.
One of those.
Stands just throws. Like I would have been a Trey Lance stan, but now I'm not a Trey Lance stan because Jimmy G's gone, and I don't no ill will towards Purdy. You know what I mean? I want to make sure both these guys have a good career. You know what I mean? One way or another. Appreciate both of them.
See, Bebop knows. He said he loves Purdy. LOL.
Well,
anyway,
I'm saying
it's all
that.
Good stuff. But yeah, he's respectful. He is respectful.
But I don't see him talk trash about Lance, so that's why I wouldn't call him necessarily a stan. Yes, he's one of the biggest supporters for him, but I think
defending his guy,
where it comes from, makes it different. You know what I mean? And that changes the label.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'll agree with your,
like if you want to say he's the number one fan, Trey, or if you want to say he's Brock Purdy number one fan, I'm okay with that.
Number one in my YouTube chats for sure. But I love it. I love it. Like I said, I don't want to, an echo chamber. I don't want everybody to say great idea, Ted.
Somebody obsessed and is willing to battle for the other one. You know what I mean? Against the rival. You know what I mean?
Should be a good show Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And then Bash 3 p.m. Yeah. All right. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Real quick. Yeah. I figured it out.
Breaking news. Yeah.
We are on Mariah's channel in
49 Faithfully,
minutes.
Everybody.
49er Faithfully podcast. Make sure you're subscribed to not only TED Talks Ball, but Mariah's
No Border Sports. Mariah.
Make sure you go over there. You probably find all the links there. There's the links here.
Bashar, 49er Minded, Niner Sickness, all these folks. Bryant Culp, Tony Culp, hit them all up. David McNiner and Melissa Rebel, aka Izzy. 10% Ty. Podcaster agent extraordinaire. I won't go through the whole spiel because we're trying to wrap it up. I'll just say peace and go Niners.
F the Lambs.